Guys, in our previous videos, we saw what Django is, we installed it, and then we deep dived into how HTML, CSS, and JavaScript work together with Django, and then we looked into the folder structure of Django application. In this video, I'll explain you the basic difference between an app and a project and how URLs work in Django. So what I'll do is I'll go to the whiteboard to explain this concept to you, and we'll take things from there. So as you can see that I have this whiteboard to explain you, what I'll do is I'll give you an example of a Django project. Let us say you want to create a social networking website like Facebook. So let us say your Django project name is project, and let us say your Django project is called Facebook, and this is a social networking application. So you might have to give your users some sort of APIs, and you might like to have a website called dev.facebook.com. I'm just writing this in short. Another website that you might be interested in might look like something called blog.facebook.com, and blog.facebook.com will be a place where you will give your users some sort of announcements like we have integrated API with our Android application, or any sort of news that you want to give your users. This will be the place that you will intimate your users regarding the announcements, the updates, the known issues, and all sort of things. And your facebook.com will be the fp.com will be the main application page where most of your users will spend most of their times. Main app page. Now, why am I telling you all this? I'm telling you all this to explain the difference between Django application and Django project. So Django project is a collection of all these things. It contains the main app, it contains the developer app, it contains the blog app. Let us say tomorrow you want to add some sort of functionalities where you want to allow people to sell certain things. In that case, you might want to have something called shop.facebook.com. Whenever you have combination of all these things, you don't want to put all the code associated with facebook.com's main page or dev.facebook.com's main page or blog's main page or shop's main page at one place. You want to separate the concerns, and you want to keep all four of these separately. And this is achieved using apps in Django. So I might say this is app 1, and I might say this is app 2, this is app 3, and this is app 4. And we might have 4 maintainers of these 4 apps. If we do that, all 4 of those maintainers can take care of their respective apps, and the maintenance will be amazing. So this is how Django project is structured. So the main Django project's name is Facebook, but this contains the settings for Facebook, the settings.py file that I showed you, and all these apps. So all this entirely will be called Django project. Let me do this. So all these apps plus configuration is equal to, let us call it Django project. So project contains the basic configuration that drives all the apps and drives the entire project. And Django app is an entity which does something. For example, it can have some functionalities where people can send messages to their friends and peers, and it might have some functionalities where people can come and use the APIs. It might be a website where people can come and comment on the blog posts from various developers at Facebook or various leaders at Facebook, and it might be a place where people come to shop for products. So it might be a shopping store. So these are the 4 apps. We might have even more apps. A project can have multiple apps. So this is how a Django project and Django app works. But this is just a theory. I now want to go to the Visual Studio Code, show you some code, and create a few apps so that you can see all these things into action. So let's go to Visual Studio Code, and there we'll see how all these things work. Alright guys, so this is the project that I created in the last couple videos, and now I'll show you how to create a Django app. So in order to create a Django app, you can simply run python manage.py, and then you can say start app, and then you can write down the name of the app. But before I create an app, I just want to show you this directory that I created. In fact, it was created by Django. I just fired a command and all these things were automatically created by Django. Just ignore this VS Code because this is a folder which is automatically generated by my source code editor, which is Visual Studio Code. And if you are using Atom or Brackets or some other source code editor, then you will not see this folder. Now what I'll do is I'll use this manage.py command line utility. Remember from our previous videos, we know that manage.py is a command line utility. It is the entry point for us to tell Django that do this thing. So I'm going to be telling manage.py, hey manage.py, please create an app for me. We just saw that the project just contains the configuration and it does nothing. It is actually the app which does something. So in order to create an app, what I'll do is I'll fire this command. I'll say python manage.py start app. But what should be the name of my app? You can choose any name you want, but if you are a beginner and you want to have some good name, I would say you can call it home. I usually name my apps as home. Once you press enter key, you will find a folder called home generated. So this is a newly generated folder that is generated by python manage.py create app. Sorry, start app. It was start app. So you might get confused with all these commands. So what I'll do at the end of this course, I'll give you a cheat sheet of all these commands so that you have all these commands at a single place. Now we created a home app. We might create another app called blog. We might create another app called shop. But for now, I'll just create this home app. One app for a basic website is just enough. If you are creating a static website with few database operations, I would say just stick to one app, one single app. But if you want to have some sort of complex project, you can go with multiple apps. In the future videos, I'll show you how to decide upon what to keep in which app. Just a moment ago, I showed you an example wherein we had Facebook's main page, we had Facebook's blog website, we had Facebook's shop website, and we separated the concerns into different apps. But for now, what we'll do is we'll learn what is inside the folder that is generated by this start app home. Is it same as PWH tutorials, that is the Django project? No, by no means it's going to be same. It'll be different. I'll show you. So if you open this home, you'll see init.py which tells that home is actually a Python project. It has some sort of migrations and then it has admin.py, apps.py, models.py, test.py, views.py. We'll discuss about all these files. I am going to directly jump into urls.py of PWH tutorials. You'll say, wait a minute, why are you going back to urls.py of PWH tutorials? That's because this is the place where Django starts the URL parsing. So if you enter facebook.com/about, your Django project will look into this urls.py. The urls.py under PWH tutorials, which is your Django project. So what Django will do, it will say, okay, let me look into urls.py and let me see if any URL pattern is matching. Now this might get confusing for you, so let me explain it once again. urls.py is the entry point. So let us say you have a website called facebook.com. What your Django will do is it will say, okay, let me look into something called about or something called messages or something called /contact, whatever you have entered in your browser. And if it matches to something here, then it will say, okay, let me redirect you to the corresponding view or let me redirect you to the corresponding HTML. I'll show you how all this works. So without knowing anything, what I want you to do is just copy this path and paste it over here as it is. And you need to import include as well. So you say from django.urls import path, include. What is include? What is path? Don't worry about that for now. Just copy this piece of code that I wrote here. Now instead of blog, we have home. So we'll simply say home. So this is the folder that it will look into. So we are saying whenever somebody types in home / you have to go to the homes urls.py. You have to go to homes urls.py. Now before this creates a lot of confusion, let me explain it very clearly to you. That this part can be anything. For now I have kept it home, but I might call it Harry as well. What does this mean? Let me show you. I'll save this file, and after saving this file, I'll open a terminal. I'll say python manage.py run server, and once I do that, it is saying that there is no URLs in your home. Where is your urls.py? I don't see it in home. So we'll have to create a urls.py inside all the apps that we create. This might sound very confusing for now, but all I want you to do is have some patience, follow along, and you will come to know what to do next. So what I'll do is, I'll say create a new file called urls.py, and inside this urls.py, I want you to copy this. They have given you the cheat sheet actually. They have given you everything here. They have given you the links. So you don't have to worry about anything. They are saying that, okay, you just copy all this and paste it. But instead of copying this URL patterns, what I'll do is, I'll redirect the paths to corresponding views. So what I'll do is, I'll tell Django, whenever somebody types Harry / you just have to forget everything and you have to move to home.urls. It will say, okay, after Harry, I need to go to this file, which is home.urls, urls.py inside the home folder. Now what I'll do here is, I'll say, okay, whenever somebody comes here and he has a path of, say, boy, boy, you have to redirect that person to some view. Now what is this view? For now, consider view as a Python file which will serve some HTML, which will serve some sort of HTML or text. So what I'll do is, I'll say, okay, whenever somebody types in Harry / boy, what you have to do is, you have to send that person to a view. Now I'm defining a view. A view is something that a person sees. So for now, if you open this views.py file, it says create your views here. What I'll do is, I'll create a function and I'll say request, and you just have to copy paste for now. I don't want you to understand all this. And just say return, and we need to import HTTP response. You might think, what is HTTP response? I don't know what is render. You don't have to know for now. I just want you to create a basic website. This is the data. Just write this. This is the data. And save this file. So we have a home function inside our views.py. Now whenever somebody types in /Harry / boy, which is here, I want him to be redirected to home function of views. So I'll say from home dot views, or from home import views. Okay. And what I'll do is, I'll say whenever somebody comes to boy, you have to redirect him to the home function. So I'll say views dot